In this video, we're going to be talking about how I get grants for my businesses. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Rinde from AskRinde, and welcome to the #1 community for real estate, income, and credit. So if you'd like to know more about how I get grants for my businesses, from transportation to real estate to Shopify to marketing and media and much more, make sure you watch the video to the end and leave a comment below if you need help with anything. Getting grants can be both frustrating and rewarding. It's such a tedious process. You first have to find a grant, then apply for the grant, and then hope you receive the grant. And if you're fortunate enough to actually be a recipient of the grant, depending on the grant source, you may have to wait to be able to receive the funds, which could be a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and even in some cases a year later. So I wanted to share with you a little about my process and how I go about getting grants for my businesses. And when I first got exposed to grants in 2007, it changed my mindset about business and how to grow and scale your businesses. So grants can be applied to literally any business. And our businesses include 6-figure Shopify stores, transportation, real estate, marketing and media, affiliate marketing, and consultation services. So how can you actually apply for grants with all those various type of companies? Well, it's absolutely possible when you actually have the 4 core components. And this is what I actually do when I prepare to be able to go after grants. And this is what we've actually done to be successful all these years in continuously applying for grants and competing for grants on a monthly basis. So I'd like to share with you the first 5 steps that we take in getting grants for our businesses. Number 1, it's important to have vision and purpose. So as a business, it's important to have a vision and a purpose of what you're going to do to make a difference in a community, in a demographic. And that's why the grant will be given to your business. Oftentimes we've seen with competition grants, enrolling grants, etc., grants that are actually meaningful and larger grants, they're given to companies and businesses that are going to make a major difference. And so this is very important when you actually are starting out, that you want to make sure that you're having a vision and a purpose that can actually make a difference. This is one of the reasons why in our Grants Masterclass, one of the first things that we do is help you with that. That's the first conversation we have is, what is your vision? Because we want to make sure that you're set up properly for step 2. And the great thing about grants and vision and purpose is that it forces you to be disciplined and get in order. One of my favorite scriptures is in Matthew 14, where Jesus fed the 5,000. And before he fed the 5,000, he gave a very important instruction, and that was to seat them down in sets of 50. And that was order. So before the miracle could happen, he actually stated that there should be order. And that's how the process works when it comes to grants. When it comes to grants, you need to be able to convey your vision. You need to be able to convey your purpose. Oftentimes, you're going to be asked to explain it. So one of the things that we train people in is with your grant videos and how to present yourself when you're actually presenting for your grant submission. It's very important to be able to convey what your vision is and state it clearly. Not just an elevator pitch, but you want to make sure that you can actually dictate and state what you will be doing in the community and how you're going to be making a difference. And the larger the grant, the more clearer you need to make sure that your vision is and that you can convey it properly and easily. So these are all very, very important keys and steps that we actually take in step 1 to make sure that our vision and purpose for this specific grant is going to actually be aligned. And that's one of the key things that I see a lot of people make the mistake on when they're going for grants, because they're frustrated to keep applying for grants and they're just get to a point where they just start applying for any grant that comes up, not realizing that there's got to be also alignment. So your vision and purpose is very important, and it's not just looking at the grant and saying whether or not you qualify the criteria. You want to make sure that your vision and purpose helps you and also helps others. Step number 2, make sure that your business is properly set up. So many people I see fail and not be able to get grants because their business is not properly set up. It's very important to actually have a proper business setup, and that's one of the reasons why our diverse group of businesses can compete for grants, because we're properly set up. We're strategically set up. So it's important to actually have your business properly set up. And this is not just registering the business as an LLC or registering the business as a C Corp or an S Corp. You want to make sure that your business is properly set up when it comes to grants, because grants is a different dynamic in the way that we do it, and the veracity and the amount of grants that we apply for and we receive ongoing on an annual basis. You want to make sure that you're actually properly set up strategically in order to be able to actually go after grants and compete for grants. And we actually go more in detail in our grants masterclass, where we actually talk about examples of strategy set up for your business and your company so that you can actually have the grant component. When I first started applying for grants and getting grants, like I shared back in 2007, my mentality prior to that was just simply, you work hard and you build up a business. I started a furniture business and I actually transitioned over and I started in real estate in 2002. 5 years later, I was actually exposed to grants in 2007. And that kind of caused a shift in my mindset where I was like, wow, so you mean to tell me that I can hustle, go after my real estate, get closings, close a deal, and I'm generating revenue as a realtor, as an investor, I have rental properties, etc. And then you mean to tell me I can actually set up another stream or another opportunity here where I can get free money to build my businesses and buy collateral and things like that and not have to pay it back. And that really was a shift for me. So I made sure that, we collaborated, my mom and I, to figure out how to position ourselves so that we can actually have that going. And in order to be able to actually have accomplished that, we have to know how to properly set up our businesses in order to compete for grants. And the reason why our various types of businesses can compete for grants is because they're properly set up. Step number 3, choice. So you actually want to make sure that you actually choose the right grants to go after. Some grants are worth it, some grants are not. You want to make sure that you're actually choosing grants that are actually strategically key for you. Sometimes it's not all based on the amounts either. Sometimes it can actually be strategic for you to get specific grants over others. So you want to make sure that you know how to actually go along the process of choosing the right grants. And that's something that we also share and talk about in our Grants Masterclass, where we actually help you to know what to look for and give you an idea of how to actually spot the right grants to actually choose. Step number 4, targeting. So think of targeting as aiming. You want to make sure that you actually aim at the grant target and hit the target on the bullseye. And that can mean that you're not only just targeting the grant, but you're targeting the grant source, you're targeting the location, and all around looking at the best opportunity to be able to have the highest chance of receiving the grant. And this actually is part of a strategy that we actually have used in our grants formula in order to position ourselves. So targeting can also include talking to the right people and knowing about grants early. Oftentimes those who actually know about grants earlier on have a best chance of preparing and be able to be in position to be able to get the grant. And number 5, and the 5th step, is follow-up. So follow-up is absolutely key when it comes to getting grants, because oftentimes the grants are very competitive, or the grants can actually get convoluted where there's just a mix of a lot of people who've actually applied for the grant. And sometimes following up can make the difference whether or not you're going to be getting that grant or not. Now, if it's a multi-round grant, your follow-up is even more important, because the impression that you make throughout that process can actually set you up. So if you don't get the grant in the first round, you may be getting the grant in subsequent rounds. So follow-up is always a good thing, because when you're dealing with grants, oftentimes remember, some of these grants are annual grants. Some of these grants are biannual grants. Some of these grants have various rounds, and also some of these grants split off and actually form other programs. And these are the same people who are actually working these programs and administering these grants. By them seeing you and then constantly seeing your follow-up, it positions you so that when you're actually going for a grant, and maybe you don't get the grant that you apply for now, but you'll be positioned to actually now be known and be networked so that you can actually get grants on a subsequent round or at a later date when they're actually pitching either a different grant or the same grant in different grant seasons. And that's one of the key ways to be able to develop your grant network in your local area. By constantly following up, you get a chance to know who's actually administering grants, what organizations, what programs, what foundations, etc. And this is one of the unique ways that we've used to be able to grow our grant network and get connected to grant sources. Grant sources such as individuals, entities, foundations, etc. that we actually have on our grants donor list in our membership area that have no financial lack whatsoever. They're always ready and willing and able to be able to give towards causes and visions, whether it be small business, whether it be personal in some cases, to be able to help those visions and those people move to the next level and come through the seasons of life. It's very important to understand that there are people who exist that live in the land of Goshen. So there's a scripture in the Bible in Genesis 45 where it talks about the land of Goshen, or the promised land. This is a place of no lack, no scarcity whatsoever. There's abundance everywhere. And there are people that you get around as you're in this year after year that they actually rub off on you. And you get to a point where you can't see lack, you can't see scarcity. And no matter what happens in the world, whether it's war, whether it's pestilence, whether it's all these things that are happening, everything can be crumbling, but there's just abundance. It's this place that you enter into. It's this land of Goshen. And you start to get around these individuals and things just scale up. They expose you to more. They expose you to ways to do business. So instead of making hundreds of thousands of dollars, you start to make millions of dollars. They expose you to real estate, how to actually do deals where it's strategic. So instead of actually having one unit, you end up with 100 units. These are things that are invaluable because not only are you getting financial help, but you're getting wisdom. You're getting resources, wisdom resources, and tactical strategic resources to be able to help yourself evolve and also create jobs and make an impact. So throughout the years in getting grants for our businesses, we've actually developed a grant formula. This is actually a formula that my mom and I developed over time that we've used to be able to strategically get grants consistently for our businesses, no matter what. And it really helps when you actually are successful in making money in these businesses to also have the ability to get grants for them, to also have the ability to do a real estate closing, make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and then also go in and apply for grants. And it also helps to be able to do business, generate sales, make a lot of money, and also apply for grants. And we do this consistently by using our grants formula. So I encourage every business owner out there to definitely start to apply for grants. You want to make sure that you're applying for grants, and you want to make sure that your business is properly set up and you're in position to be able to apply for grants, because you're leaving money that is available for you out there when you can actually take advantage of it and receive it for your business and for your family. So we actually teach you more about our grants formula in our grants masterclass. You can actually join us for our masterclass now by going to my website at AskRinde.com, clicking on grants, and getting started today. We actually take you some of the process and we start to show you the formula and peel back the layers and give you really the strategic tools that you need to be able to be successful in getting grants consistently. It's not enough to be able to get a grant one time. Of course, depending on the grant, if you get a six-figure grant, it may make a difference. But when you're getting grants and you're trying to get going through the entire process, like I shared, it can be very tedious. You're applying for grants, you're having to give all this documentation, etc. And you want to make sure that you're in the best position to not only do it one time, but you can rinse and repeat. And that's what we actually try to share with you in our Grants Masterclass. So if you'd like to actually join our Masterclass, make sure you join us by going to my website at AskRinde.com and getting started today. We're also going to be including and adding to our Grants Masterclass our grant reviews, where you can actually see me review a grant, and we can actually show you the process of how we apply for grants and get the process going. So we look forward to seeing you inside the Masterclass. Make sure you join us by going to my website at AskRinde.com, clicking on grants, and getting started today. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. You can also email me. My email address is AskRindeNetwork@gmail.com. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.